My parents handed my sister the keys to a brand new house the same week they told me they couldn't afford my college tuition. Let that sink in for a moment. If you've ever felt like the invisible child in your family, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel tells the stories no one else will, the truth about family betrayal, and the revenge that follows. Don't let this be the video you regret not subscribing for. My name is Lily, and I'm 29 years old now. But this story begins when I was 19, holding an acceptance letter from the University of Michigan in my shaking hands. I'd worked for this my entire life. Straight A's. Volunteer work. Student council president. I tutored kids after school for extra money and spent weekends at the library instead of parties. The University of Michigan wasn't just a school to me, it was proof that all those years of sacrifice meant something. When the acceptance email came through, I ran downstairs screaming. My mom, Karen, was in the kitchen cutting vegetables. My dad, Mark, was reading the newspaper at the table. My sister Emma was on her phone, barely looking up. I got in. I shouted, waving my phone in the air. Michigan accepted me. My mom smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. My dad folded his newspaper slowly, deliberately. Emma scrolled through Instagram like I hadn't spoken at all. That's wonderful, sweetheart, my mom said. Her voice was flat. We're very proud of you. I should have heard the warning in those words. I should have noticed the way my dad's jaw tightened, or how Emma smirked at her phone screen. But I was too happy to see the trap closing around me. 3 days later, they called me into the living room for a talk. I sat on the couch across from them. Emma wasn't there, she was out somewhere, probably spending money on brunch and mimosas like she did every weekend. My parents looked at each other, then at me. My mom sighed like the words she was about to say physically hurt her. Lily, honey, we need to talk about college, she began. My stomach dropped. I knew that tone. Your father and I have been going over the finances and... She paused, glancing at my dad. He nodded for her to continue. We can't afford to help you with tuition right now. The room went silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. What? I whispered. My dad leaned forward, hands clasped together. The business has been struggling, Lily. We're barely keeping our heads above water. We wish we could help, God, we wish we could, but money's just too tight right now. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I can get loans. Financial aid. I'll work part-time. Even with all that, it's expensive, my mom interrupted. Out-of-state tuition, room and board, books, food. We just don't have the extra money to help you make up the difference. I looked between them, searching for any sign that this was a joke. A test. Something. But they just stared back at me with those concerned, sympathetic faces. What about the community college, my dad suggested. You could start there, save money, and transfer later. Community college. After everything I'd worked for. After all those sleepless nights and missed social events, and hours of studying until my eyes burned. Okay, I heard myself say. I understand. I didn't understand. But what choice did I have? I went to my room and cried for 3 hours straight. Then I got up, washed my face, and started researching community colleges and student loans. If my parents couldn't help me, I'd do it myself. I'd always done everything myself anyway. That week was the longest of my life. I avoided my parents as much as possible, spent time in my room planning my backup future. Emma came home twice, both times carrying shopping bags from expensive stores. She didn't ask me about college. She never asked me about anything. Then came Thursday night. I was lying in bed, scrolling mindlessly through Facebook to distract myself from the disappointment eating away at my chest. That's when I saw it. A post from my mother's account, uploaded 2 hours earlier. The photo showed my parents standing in front of a beautiful 2-story house with a red door and white shutters. They were smiling bigger than I'd ever seen them smile. Between them stood Emma, holding up a set of keys, her face glowing with joy. The location tag said Nashville, Tennessee. The caption read, "A house for our golden girl. So proud to give Emma this gift. She deserves everything. #proud parents, #new homeowner, #family first." I stared at the screen until my phone went dark from inactivity. Then I turned it back on and stared some more. There were 73 comments. Friends and family congratulating Emma. Congratulating my parents for being so generous. So loving. My aunt wrote, "You two are the most amazing parents. Emma is so lucky." My dad's business partner commented, "That's one beautiful investment. Well done, Mark." Investment. My hands started shaking. I scrolled through the photos, there were 12 of them. The house from different angles. Emma posing on the porch. My parents hugging her. A sold sign in the front yard with a realtor's information. I clicked on the realtor's website and found the listing. The house had sold for $340,000. Even with a mortgage, the down payment would have been at least $68,000. $68,000. They couldn't afford to help me with college, but they could afford a house for Emma. Something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like a windshield hit by a rock, with lines spreading out in every direction. I got out of bed, pulled my 2 suitcases from the closet, and started packing. T-shirts, jeans, underwear, socks. My laptop, phone charger, important documents. Photos of my grandmother, the only person in this family who'd ever really loved me. It took me 45 minutes to pack my entire life. I left the acceptance letter from the University of Michigan on my bed, right in the center where they couldn't miss it. Then I took a piece of notebook paper and wrote, "Don't worry about me anymore. You won't have to." I didn't say goodbye. I didn't leave a phone number. I walked out the front door at 2:47 in the morning with $300 in my checking account, 2 suitcases, and a promise I made to myself in that moment. I would never ask them for anything again. More than that, I would make sure they regretted every single choice they'd made. But what I didn't know yet was just how much they'd already taken from me. The house was only the beginning. I called my friend Maya at 3 in the morning. She answered on the 5th ring, voice thick with sleep. "Lily? What's wrong? Can I stay with you for a while?" I asked. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Of course. Are you okay?" "I will be." Maya lived in a studio apartment in Detroit, working 2 jobs while taking online classes. Her place was small, barely 400 square feet, but she cleared space on her couch without asking questions. That first night, she made me tea and sat with me while I told her everything. "They bought Emma a house," I said, still not quite believing my own words. "A house," Maya repeated slowly. "While telling you they're broke. A $340,000 house." Maya's jaw tightened. "Lily, that's... I don't even have words for how messed up that is." "I don't want to talk about it anymore," I said. "I need to figure out what happens next." What happened next was the hardest year of my life. I found a job at a 24-hour diner called Mel's, working the graveyard shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The pay was $8.50 an hour plus tips. On good nights I made $80. On bad nights, $45. During the day, I worked at a warehouse, loading boxes and processing shipments. My arms ached constantly. I developed calluses on my hands that never quite healed. I slept in 4-hour chunks, usually from 8 a.m. to noon. Then I'd get up, eat whatever cheap food I could afford, ramen, peanut butter sandwiches, 99-cent frozen dinners, and try to figure out my life. Maya never charged me rent, but I insisted on contributing. I gave her $200 a month and bought groceries whenever I could. She was the only family I had left. My parents never called. Not once. 3 weeks after I left, my mom sent a single text message, "We hope you're doing well. Please let us know you're safe." I didn't respond. Emma posted constantly on Instagram and Facebook. Brunch photos. Shopping hauls. Pictures of her new house with captions like "Loving my new kitchen" and "Home sweet home." I blocked her after a month. Seeing her perfect life, while I was eating instant noodles for the 3rd day in a row was too much. But something strange started happening during those endless night shifts at Mel's. I'd always loved art and design. In high school, I used to sketch clothing and shoes in the margins of my notebooks. Teachers would get mad, but I couldn't help it. Design was the only thing that made my brain feel alive. During the slow hours at the diner, usually between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., I started sketching again. I'd grab napkins or order pads and draw shoe designs. Sneakers, mostly. I'd loved sneakers since I was a kid. One night, a regular customer named Jerome noticed my sketches. "You draw those?" he asked, pointing at a napkin where I'd designed a high-top sneaker with asymmetrical lacing. "Yeah," I said, suddenly embarrassed. "Just messing around." "Those are good." "Like, really good. You go to design school or something?" "I was supposed to," I said. "Didn't work out." Jerome studied the drawing more carefully. "You ever think about selling them? Custom sneakers are huge right now. People pay serious money for unique designs." I hadn't thought about it. Not seriously, anyway. But Jerome's words stuck in my head for the rest of my shift. The next day, I went to a thrift store and bought an old leather jacket for $7. I took it home, cut it apart, and spent 6 hours figuring out how to attach the leather pieces to a cheap pair of white canvas sneakers I'd bought at Walmart for $12. The result was interesting. Not professional, but interesting. I made 3 more pairs over the next 2 weeks, experimenting with different materials. Old denim jeans. A vinyl tablecloth. Fabric scraps from the dollar store. Then I found the game changer. I was walking past a dumpster behind a textile factory when I saw it, bags and bags of discarded material. Leather scraps. Rubber pieces. Plastic bottles. Perfectly good materials that the factory was throwing away because they had minor defects or were left over from production runs. I asked the factory manager if I could take some. He laughed and said, "Take as much as you want. You're saving us disposal fees." That night, I designed my first real pair of sneakers. I used recycled leather from the factory dumpster, rubber soles from old tires I found at an auto shop, and fabric from plastic bottles that I melted down and reformed. The process took me 40 hours spread across 2 weeks. When I finished, I held up a pair of high-top sneakers that looked expensive, like something you'd see in a boutique for $200. They'd cost me less than $15 in materials. Maya came home and stopped dead when she saw them. "Lily. What are those?" "Shoes," I said. "Made from garbage." "Those are not garbage. Those are incredible." I took photos of them and posted them on Etsy with a description: handmade luxury sneakers created from 100% recycled materials. One of a kind. Size 9. I priced them at $60, figuring no one would buy them anyway. They sold in 47 minutes. I stared at the order confirmed email for 10 full minutes. Then I cried. Not sad tears this time, something else. Relief, maybe. Or hope. Or the feeling that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as worthless as my parents had made me feel. The buyer left a 5-star review. These are the coolest shoes I've ever owned. Unique, well-made, and I love the sustainability angle. Will definitely buy again. I made 3 more pairs that month. They all sold within a week. Before we continue, I need you to do something. If this story is making you feel something, anger, hope, anything, subscribe to this channel right now. These stories matter. Your support means I can keep telling them. Don't just watch and leave. Be part of this community. Subscribe. Please. By month 4, I had a waiting list of 30 people. By month 6, I'd saved enough money to move into my own tiny studio apartment. It was 300 square feet, had a leaky faucet, and the heat barely worked, but it was mine. I named my business Revive. The concept was simple: turn trash into treasure. Every pair of sneakers I made used materials that would have ended up in landfills. I told the story behind each design on my Etsy page, where the materials came from, how I transformed them, why sustainability mattered. People connected with it. More than that, they connected with me. I started making $200 a week, then $500, then $1,000. I quit the warehouse job and focused entirely on Revive and my diner shifts. Social media helped. I created an Instagram account showing my process, cutting materials, stitching leather, assembling shoes. I posted photos of the finished products with captions about second chances and building something from nothing. My follower count grew slowly at first, then faster. 500 followers. 2,000, 5,000. I reinvested every dollar back into the business. Better tools. A proper workbench. A heat press for melting plastic. Industrial sewing machine. Meanwhile, Emma's posts continued. She'd gotten engaged to her boyfriend, some finance guy named Brett. Photos of her ring, a massive diamond that probably cost more than I'd made all year. Photos of them at expensive restaurants. A vacation to Aruba. My parents commented on every single post with heart emojis and congratulations. They never once tried to contact me. 3 years passed like that. I worked 16-hour days, sometimes more. I developed a signature design called Phoenix Rising, sneakers that literally looked like they were rising from ashes, with red and orange gradient leather that I dyed by hand. I shipped shoes to customers in 43 states. My Etsy shop had 847 5-star reviews. I'd saved $31,000. It still wasn't enough. I wanted more. I wanted to be so successful that my parents would see my name and choke on their regret. Then, during Christmas of year 3, I saw the family photo. They'd posted it on Facebook, the 3 of them in matching sweaters in front of a decorated tree. My mom, my dad, and Emma. All smiling. Caption: Family is everything. Merry Christmas from the Morrison family. I wasn't in the photo. I wasn't mentioned. I didn't exist. Something hardened in my chest that day. Something cold and sharp and focused. I opened my laptop and designed the most ambitious sneaker I'd ever attempted. The Phoenix Rising design, but elevated. Premium materials. Intricate stitching. A sole that looked like crystallized fire. I poured everything I had into those shoes, my anger, my pain, my desperate need to prove I mattered. It took me 63 hours spread across 3 weeks. When I finished, I held up a pair of sneakers that looked like they cost $800. Because they should have. I took professional photos and posted them on Instagram with the caption, "Sometimes you have to burn down your old life to rise from the ashes." The Phoenix Rising 2.0. Limited edition. The post got 2,400 likes in 3 hours. Then my phone rang with a Los Angeles area code. Is this Lily Morrison? The creator of Revive, a woman's voice asked. Yes, that's me. My name is Jordan Chen. I'm a celebrity stylist, and I have a client who's obsessed with your Phoenix Rising design. He wants to wear them for an appearance on Good Morning America next week. Would you be willing to make him a custom pair? My heart stopped. Who's the client? Marcus Flynn. Marcus Flynn. The Marcus Flynn. Grammy-winning musician with 40 million followers on Instagram. Yes, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Absolutely yes. I made those shoes in 4 days, barely sleeping. I used the finest recycled materials I could source, and stitched my entire soul into every detail. Jordan loved them. Marcus loved them even more. 1 week later, Marcus Flynn walked onto the Good Morning America set wearing my Phoenix Rising sneakers. The camera zoomed in on them during his performance. He mentioned them in his interview. These are by an incredible designer named Lily Morrison, he told millions of viewers. Her company Revive makes luxury sneakers from recycled materials. They're sustainable, unique, and honestly the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. Check her out. My phone exploded. Orders flooded my Etsy shop so fast the site crashed. My Instagram gained 40,000 followers in 6 hours. My email inbox had 600 messages from stores wanting to carry my designs. I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment, watching my entire life change in real time. Revive went from making $4,000 a month to $60,000 in the first month after the appearance. Then $150,000 the month after that. I hired 3 people to help with production. Rented a small warehouse space. Created a real website. Got a business manager and an accountant. By the end of that year, Revive had made $2.1 million in revenue. Forbes reached out for an interview. They wanted to feature me in their 30 Under 30 list for social entrepreneurship. The article went live on a Tuesday morning. It included photos of me in my warehouse, holding my Phoenix Rising sneakers. The headline read, "How this 26-year-old built a $1 million sneaker empire from literal trash." The article mentioned that I'd started with nothing, working night shifts at a diner while teaching myself design. It talked about my sustainability mission and my commitment to second chances. It didn't mention my family. I'd specifically asked them not to. But my family saw it anyway. My mom called that afternoon. I stared at her name on my screen for 5 rings before I let it go to voicemail. She left a message. I saved it but didn't listen to it for 3 days. When I finally did, her voice made my stomach twist. "Lily, honey, it's Mom. We saw the Forbes article. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. We always knew you were special. Please call us back. We miss you so much. We want to be part of your life again. We love you." I deleted the message. But something had shifted. They knew about my success now. After 3 years of silence, suddenly they wanted to be part of my life. I didn't respond. I focused on growing Revive, on building something real and lasting. That's when my lawyer found something that changed everything. Her name was Patricia, and I'd hired her to help with trademark protection for Revive. Smart, thorough, no nonsense. She'd been doing routine background checks on my financial history when she called me on a Friday evening. "Lily, I need you to come to my office tomorrow morning," Patricia said. Her voice was strange, careful, like she was holding something fragile. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Is there a problem with the trademark?" "No. It's something else. Something I need to show you in person." I didn't sleep that night. If you're still watching, drop a comment right now telling me what you think Lily found. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This is where everything changes. Don't miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button before you regret it. I walked into Patricia's office at 9 sharp Saturday morning. She had documents spread across her desk, papers, printouts, highlighted sections everywhere. "Sit down," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. I sat. My hands were already shaking. Patricia pulled out a folder and opened it slowly. "During the background check, I found an old financial account in your name. A trust fund." My heart skipped. "What trust fund?" "It was established by your grandmother, Helen Morrison, in 2008. You were 12 years old. She deposited money into it regularly until she passed away when you were 16. Grandmother Helen. I remembered her, the only person in my family who'd ever made me feel seen. She used to tell me I was destined for greatness. She believed in me when no one else did." "How much was in it?" I asked. Patricia's jaw tightened. "At the time of your grandmother's death, the account held $186,000. By the time you turned 18, with interest and her final bequest, it should have contained approximately $247,000. My vision blurred. $250,000. Money specifically meant for me. For my education. My future. Should have. I whispered. The account was drained in March 2019. 18 months before you applied to college. The room tilted. What? Patricia slid a document across the desk. Bank statements. Withdrawal records. Dates and amounts highlighted in yellow. March 15, 2019, $80,000 withdrawn. Authorization signature, Mark Morrison. April 3, 2019, $60,000 withdrawn. Authorization signature, Mark Morrison. May 28, 2019, $50,000 withdrawn. Authorization signature, Mark Morrison. June 12, 2019, $57,000 withdrawn. Authorization signature, Mark Morrison. Your father was listed as the custodian of the account until you turned 21, Patricia explained. He had legal authority to make withdrawals for your benefit, education, medical expenses, things like that. But these withdrawals weren't for my benefit, I finished. I traced where the money went. It was transferred to an account under your father's company name. Morrison Financial Consulting. I couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in. They didn't just refuse to pay for my college. They stole the money my grandmother had left specifically for that purpose. "There's more," Patricia said quietly. "More?" My voice cracked. "How can there be more?" She pulled out another folder, thicker than the first. "When I started digging into your father's company accounts, I found irregularities. Lots of them. So I contacted a forensic accountant I know. Someone who specializes in financial fraud." She slid a business card across the desk. "David Chen, forensic accountant. He found things, Lily. Bad things." I met David Chen 3 days later in his office downtown. He was in his 50s, gray hair, tired eyes that had seen too much corruption. "Your father has been running a financial fraud scheme for at least 7 years, David said without preamble. He didn't believe in softening blows. "Possibly longer, but I can only verify 7 years from the records I've accessed so far." I sat frozen in the chair across from him. David opened his laptop and turned it toward me. Spreadsheets. Bank transfers. Shell companies with names I didn't recognize. Mark Morrison runs a financial consulting business. His clients trust him to manage their investments, retirement accounts, savings. But he's been systematically stealing from them. How? I managed to ask. He creates false documentation showing investments that don't exist. He moves money from client accounts into shell companies he controls, then transfers it into personal accounts. He's very good at covering his tracks, moving money through multiple accounts to obscure the trail. David clicked through screens showing the flow of stolen money. Hundreds of transactions. Millions of dollars. The down payment for your sister's house, $85,000, came directly from your trust fund. I can prove it. The money was withdrawn from your account, moved through 2 shell companies, then deposited as a business bonus before being used for the house purchase. My hands clenched into fists. Emma's house. The one she posted about constantly. The one my parents gave her while telling me they were broke. Built with my money. Money my grandmother saved for years. Money meant for my future. How much has he stolen total? I asked. David's expression darkened. From what I've found so far. $4.3 million. The number didn't feel real. It was too big. Too monstrous. Most of his victims are elderly clients who trusted him with their retirement savings. People who worked their entire lives and gave him everything, thinking he'd help them retire comfortably. He's been bleeding them dry for years. I felt sick. What about my mom? Karen Morrison's name is on multiple documents. She helped create false investment reports, forged client signatures on transfer authorizations. She's not just aware of the fraud, she's an active participant. Of course she was. My mother, who sighed so sympathetically when telling me they couldn't afford my tuition. Who posted photos of Emma's house with pride. Who called me after the Forbes article saying she missed me. She knew. She'd always known. What do I do? I asked. David leaned back in his chair. That's not my decision to make. I can give you all the evidence I've compiled. What you do with it is up to you. I spent a week in hell. Not the doing nothing kind of hell, the thinking too much kind. The kind where every option feels like swallowing glass. If I reported my parents, they'd go to prison. My father would lose everything. My mother would lose everything. Emma would lose the house. But if I didn't report them, dozens of people would continue suffering. Elderly people who'd worked their whole lives, trusting my father to protect their futures. Maya came over every night that week. She'd bring food I couldn't eat and sit with me while I stared at the evidence David had compiled. What are you thinking? She asked on the 5th night. I'm thinking about Mrs. Patterson, I said. Mrs. Patterson had been my grandmother's best friend. A sweet woman who used to give me butterscotch candies and tell me stories about my grandmother when she was young. She'd died 2 years ago. I looked her up in the client list David gave me, I continued. My father stole $340,000 from her retirement account over 4 years. She died thinking she'd gone broke from medical expenses. Her daughter had to sell her house to pay for the nursing home. Maya's hand found mine. There are 23 people like her in these files, I said. 23 families destroyed because my father is a thief, and my mother helped him do it. Then you know what you have to do, Maya said gently. I did know. I'd known from the moment Patricia showed me those bank statements. But knowing didn't make it easier. That night, I visited my grandmother's grave for the first time in 2 years. It was a small headstone in a cemetery on the edge of town. Fresh flowers sat in the vase, someone still visited her regularly. I sat in the grass next to her grave and talked to her like she could hear me. You left me that money because you believed in me, I said. You wanted me to have opportunities you never had. And they stole it. They stole it and lied to my face, and let me think I wasn't worth investing in. The wind picked up, rustling through the trees. You used to tell me that truth is the only inheritance that matters, I continued. That integrity is worth more than money. I didn't understand what you meant back then. But I do now. I stayed there for an hour, sitting with her memory and the weight of my decision. When I left, I knew what I had to do. But before I could make the call to investigators, Emma called me. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in over 3 years. But curiosity won. "What do you want, Emma?" I asked. "Dad told me you've been digging into his business," she said. No greeting. No "how are you?" Straight to the point. Did he now? "Leave it alone, Lily." I laughed. Actually laughed. Leave it alone? Are you serious? Whatever you think you found, you're wrong. Dad's business is legitimate. You're just bitter because you couldn't make it without their help, and now you want to tear them down. The audacity. The sheer audacity. "Emma, do you know where the money for your house came from?" I asked. Silence. "Do you?" I pressed. "Dad said it was a business bonus," she said, but her voice wavered. "It was my trust fund. The one grandmother Helen left me. Dad stole it and gave it to you." More silence. "You knew," I said, realization dawning. "You knew the whole time." "I didn't." "Don't lie to me." "Not now." Emma's voice changed. Went cold. "Fine. Yes, I knew. So what? You were always going to be the failure anyway, Lily. At least the money went to someone who could actually use it properly." Something snapped inside me. Not broke, snapped. Like a rubber band stretched too far. "You're right," I said calmly. "I was always going to be the failure. That's what you all thought. But here's the thing, Emma, I built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing while you bought a house with stolen money. So who's the failure now?" I hung up before she could respond. That night, I organized every document David had given me. Every bank statement. Every forged signature. Every stolen dollar traced back to its source. Then I called the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Real quick, if you think Lily made the right choice, comment "Justice" right now. And if this story has you on the edge of your seat, subscribe to this channel. We tell the stories about family betrayal that need to be heard. Your subscription keeps these stories coming. Don't just watch, be part of this. The investigation moved faster than I expected. The FBI agent I spoke with, Agent Rodriguez, listened to everything I had to say. I sent him all the evidence David had compiled. Within 48 hours, they'd opened a formal investigation. 2 weeks later, they had enough to make arrests. But before that happened, I did something else. I posted a statement on Revive's official Instagram page. We had 340,000 followers by then, people who'd followed my journey from struggling night shift worker to successful entrepreneur. The post was a photo of my grandmother's grave with text overlaid. 3 years ago, I left home with $300 and a dream. I was told my family couldn't afford to help me. I believed them. I worked 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, and built Revive from recycled materials and sheer determination. Last week, I learned the truth. My family could afford to help me. They chose not to. The college fund my grandmother left me, $247,000, was stolen and used to buy my sister a house. But that's not all. My father has been stealing from dozens of families for years. Elderly people who trusted him with their life savings. People like my grandmother. Some empires are built on lies. Mine was built on the truth. To anyone who's ever been told they're not worth investing in, you are. Build your empire anyway. And when you discover the lies, expose them. The truth is the only inheritance that matters. The post went viral in 3 hours. Major news outlets picked it up. Local news. National news. Financial crime reporters. By that evening, every major network was running the story: local businessman under investigation for multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. The next morning, they made the arrests. I watched it on the news from my apartment. Camera crews outside my parents' house. Federal agents walking my father out in handcuffs. My mother behind him, also handcuffed, trying to hide her face. The reporter's voice cut through. Mark and Karen Morrison have been arrested on multiple charges of wire fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. The FBI estimates they stole over $4.3 million from clients over a 7-year period. The investigation was initiated after evidence was provided by the couple's estranged daughter, Lily Morrison, founder of the sustainable fashion company Revive. My phone rang constantly. Reporters. Lawyers. Victims' families thanking me. One call stood out, a woman named Jennifer Patterson. Mrs. Patterson's daughter. "You gave my mother justice," she sobbed into the phone. She died thinking she'd failed us financially. But it wasn't her fault. It was never her fault. Thank you for exposing the truth. That call made everything worth it. But there was still one more phone call to come. 3 days after the arrests, my parents' lawyer contacted me with a message: "How could you do this to your own family?" I didn't respond to the lawyer. But I did write a response that I posted publicly. Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't lie to your face while ruining your future. Family doesn't destroy dozens of lives for personal gain. I didn't betray my family, they betrayed every value family is supposed to represent. I just made sure they faced consequences. The case moved through the courts over the following months. The evidence was overwhelming. My father's lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal, but federal prosecutors weren't interested in leniency. Emma's house was seized as an asset purchased with stolen funds. She lost everything overnight. Her engagement ended, Brett wanted nothing to do with the scandal. She moved back in with a friend, trying to rebuild her life. She reached out to me one more time via email: "I'm sorry for everything. I know it doesn't mean anything now, but I am." I didn't respond. 6 months after the arrests, the sentencing hearing happened. My father was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. My mother received 5 years. They were ordered to pay $4.3 million in restitution to their victims. I didn't attend the hearing. I didn't need to see their faces or hear their excuses. Instead, I focused on Revive. The company grew despite, or maybe because of, the publicity. People connected with the story of resilience. Of building something real from nothing. Within a year, Revive was valued at $12 million. We expanded into jackets, bags, and accessories, all made from recycled materials. I hired 40 people, many of them from difficult backgrounds like mine. People who needed second chances. I donated $500,000 to a scholarship fund specifically for students whose families couldn't, or wouldn't, support their education. But there was still one loose end. Emma showed up at my office on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, 18 months after our parents' arrests. My assistant called me. "There's someone here to see you. She says she's your sister." I almost said no. But curiosity won again. Emma looked different. Thinner. Older. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by jeans and a plain sweater. No expensive purse. No flashy jewelry. We sat in my office in silence for a full minute before she spoke. "I came to apologize," she said. "Really apologize. Not the email kind. The face-to-face kind." I waited. "I was jealous of you growing up," she continued. You were smarter, more talented, more driven. Mom and Dad saw it too, and I think it scared them. So they invested in me instead because I was easier. Less threatening. That's not an apology, I said. That's an explanation. You're right. She took a shaky breath. I'm sorry, Lily. I knew they took your trust fund money. I knew it was wrong. And I didn't care because I wanted that house more than I cared about you. I was selfish and cruel, and I've lost everything because of it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I understand what I did. I studied her face. She looked sincere. Broken but sincere. What do you want from me? I asked. Nothing. I don't deserve anything from you. She pulled an envelope from her bag and placed it on my desk. I got a part-time job. Retail. It's not much, but I'm trying to rebuild. I wanted to start paying you back. For the trust fund. It's not much, just $200. But I'll keep sending it every month until I've paid back what was taken from you. I looked at the envelope but didn't touch it. Keep your money, Emma, I said. Her face fell. Lily, please. I held up my hand. I don't want your $200 a month. That's not why I exposed them. I did it because it was right. Because people deserve justice. I know. I just want to make it right somehow. I pulled open my desk drawer and took out my checkbook. I wrote a check for $5,000 and slid it across the desk. Emma stared at it in shock. What is this? More than they ever gave me, I said. Use it to get on your feet. Go back to school. Get training. Build something real instead of living off stolen money. But after this, we're done. I don't want a relationship with you. I don't want updates on your life. This is closure. Tears ran down Emma's face. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just be better than you were. She took the check, nodded, and left. I never saw her again. 3 years after that meeting, Revive was valued at $50 million. We'd expanded internationally, opened stores in 12 cities, and employed over 200 people. I bought a house, not to prove anything, but because I finally could. It was modest, comfortable, mine. I kept a photo of my grandmother on my desk at work. Some days I'd look at it and tell her about my life, about the company, about everything I'd built. You were right, I would say. Truth is the only inheritance that matters. My parents were still in prison. I'd never visited them, never written, never answered their letters. Maybe someday I would. Maybe not. That was my choice to make. But I thought about them sometimes, about that night they told me they couldn't afford my tuition while planning to buy Emma a house. They said they couldn't afford my school fees. Turns out, I was paying for their sins all along. But I didn't just survive their betrayal, I built an empire from it. And every sneaker Revive sells, every person I employ, every scholarship I fund is proof that the child they threw away was worth more than everything they stole. If this story moved you, subscribe to this channel right now. Drop a comment telling me, would you have given Emma that money, or walked away completely? These stories matter because your stories matter. Family betrayal is real, and revenge, the kind that's about justice, not cruelty, is sometimes necessary. Subscribe and join our community. Let's tell these stories together.